Here we go!
Always on the move.
Hey, smoking up back.
I'm dying.
Hey,
Bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet.
Okay, here we go. Focus. Speed. I am speed.
Cyber Anakin! I have the high ground!
You underestimate my power!
Yeah, boy.
In my life, pass another one. Yeah, shawty, hey, shit, I fucked up with this girl. Now I got the whole spinning bitches all about my dick. Pass on your bitch like I'm Sonic. 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 I wanna see the whole world, so I'ma keep rapping till I'm outside. I wanna see the whole world,
I've become more powerful than any jet.
Today your ass gonna die!
Chili, Sub-Zero. I get rap so fast I might just break my phone.
Do a barrel roll!
All of these bitches that think I can spit it the same that be bumping my shit. If you hate my shit, it's on my dick. I'ma run it good. It's that shit you bitch, you miss a hit. Really did it again, I won't ever quit. This my shit. Hey, yeah, this my fucking shit.
Headshot.
Pass on your bitch like I'm Sonic. Hey.
When I left you, I was but a learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, God.
Let's do this.
Pass on your bitch like I'm Sonic. 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 I wanna see the whole world, so I'ma keep rapping till I'm on top. I wanna see the whole world, so I'ma keep rapping.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne.
Kenobi.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
You're going to love this. Trust me, what you're seeing now is my normal state. This is a Super Saiyan.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of us. What are we going to do?
What is up, guys? So today for this video we're taking a look at the Dark Lord of the Sith, other known as Darth Vader. So today for this hero guide, like I mentioned, we're going to be looking at Darth Vader. We're going to be going over his star cards, we're going to be talking about his abilities, his strengths and his weaknesses, alongside trying to give you guys like a little, insight to play Darth Vader, as he is a character that a lot of people in this game, especially people who love Star Wars, they're definitely going to be trying to play as Darth Vader. He's a very, very strong character. He's arguably one of the best heroes in this game, simply because of how well his abilities all pair well with each other, alongside his star cards. There are so many different builds as well that you can actually go for actually playing as Darth Vader to maximize his full potential. So for this hero guide, I'm just going to try my best to kind of like go over the star cards I'm mentioning. I'm going to be stating why I think that they're more beneficial compared to others, and this is literally just my personal opinion, guys, as I can entirely understand that some people may actually want to play Darth Vader in a completely different way, and that's completely understandable as well. Everyone has a different playstyle. So without further ado, we're going to jump in, we're going to talk about the star cards, and we're going to try to showcase Darth Vader in all of his glory. So right now on screen right now, you guys are seeing the star cards for Darth Vader. Feel free to pause the video if you need to, just to take a look at them and read what the star cards actually do. So the star cards are highlighted. These are the ones that I am using, and these are the ones that I find to be really, really beneficial for Darth Vader. I'm going to explain in another clip as well, showcasing why I think these star cards are probably the better ones suited for his kit. Like I mentioned, this is just my own personal opinion. I completely understand and take in consideration as well that other people will have a different playstyle. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first star card I use is called Punishing Grip. Benefits of the star card is that it actually allows Darth Vader to actually choke for a longer period of time. So what this is, it gives Darth Vader a 40% increase to the duration of when he can actually choke someone. I find the star card to be extremely important in making Darth Vader the really, really good hero that he is. Darth Vader's choke in this game, a lot of you guys, newer players, veteran players, you all know about Darth Vader's choke. Is arguably one of the strongest abilities in his entire kit. You choke someone and you're able to do so much with them, literally. In most scenarios, whenever you actually choke someone, you'll be able to actually kill them for the duration of the choke period. Alongside, if you actually have this star card, and this is why I said I really recommend this star card, is because it actually allows you to choke someone for a longer period of time. So let's just say, for an example, you're going up against a bunch of characters at the moment right now, and let's just say that maybe there's 2 or 3 of them, right? And let's just say one of them is a heavy. In most scenarios, you'll actually be able to kill them in the duration of the choke period, alongside being able to decrease the HP as much as possible. Like I mentioned, this is a really strong ability because it actually allows you to like set up some really good combos as well, whether you decide to actually choke someone and then follow up with the saber throw, which is one of Vader's literally bread and butter combos. You choke someone and then you literally just go in with the saber throw. A lot of people already know about this combo. It is literally like one of the most annoying things to kind of go up against, but alongside is one of his strong suits. It's a very good ability, and I highly recommend using the star card as well, because you'll actually find a lot of benefits to the star card, because not only is Darth Vader to the point where you can actually hold your choke ability for a much longer period of time, you can actually then hold block as well, and you can also deflect blaster balls back at your opponents as well. So let's just say you're choking someone and you're still being attacked by maybe that one person that escaped the choke. If you're holding your block while choking someone, you'll be able to actually deflect these blaster balls back at your opponent while you're choking them. This is actually a strong combo as well, and I highly recommend going for the star card as well. And you can actually play around with it a little bit and see how you can actually get some really good kills with it. The second star card I use is called Surrounded by Fear. And the benefits of this star card is it actually allows Vader to have a 20% increase to his stamina regen. This is actually really important, and I find this to be one of Darth Vader's staple star cards. And what I mean when I say staple star cards, I think this is a star card that you definitely want to be running in any game mode that you're literally playing, regardless if it's like Heroes vs Villains, Galactic Assault, or Supremacy. In Supremacy and Galactic Assault, this star card has a much higher value because you're going up against 20v20 in Galactic Assault. In Supremacy, it's 20v20 as well, but because you have bots as well, it kind of fills the map out to make it look as if there's going to be 40 versus 40. So you're actually going to be able to use this star card to its max potential. In Heroes vs Villains, in most scenarios, you'll be going up against maybe 1 or 2 people. But just in the odd scenario that you actually find yourself maybe in a 3v1 or even a 4v1 because your teammates aren't exactly next to you, you'll be able to, if you can defeat them, you'll be able to get stamina back. Vader, he doesn't have the greatest stamina, to be entirely honest with you, but Vader, he's a tank. He's not necessarily a character that, you kind of just want to go in, hold your lightsaber up and deflect every single blaster, but like how Kenobi can do it, because Kenobi has much better stamina compared to Vader. However, with the star card, like I mentioned, every single time you defeat someone, and in most scenarios you are going to be defeating someone, you'll be able to actually regenerate your stamina at a much faster rate than if you didn't have the star card equipped. I highly recommend the star card regardless if you're a new player or you're a veteran player or anything like that. Every single time you kill someone, you're just going to realize that you're going to have more and more stamina. Like I mentioned, especially in Galactic Assault alongside Supremacy, where you're going up against more players, defeating your players in a fast rate. So whether you go in, maybe you use a saber throw, you'll get stamina back. You use a choke, you defeat them, you'll get stamina back. You deflect some blaster balls back at them, and you defeat them, you get your stamina back. So you kind of see the drift of why this star card is actually so good. This star card, like I mentioned, it keeps Vader literally just constantly applying pressure to his enemies because he's always going to have stamina to stay in the fight much longer. So I highly recommend the star card as well. And the final star card I would recommend for Darth Vader is called Intensified Lightsaber Throw. The benefits of this star card is it actually allows Vader, whenever he uses his saber throw ability, it does bonus damage up to 20 when it comes back. So in most scenarios, whenever you use the saber throw, it will, whenever you connect with an opponent, it will do damage to them, and in most scenarios it'll actually kill them, if depending on their HP as well. If it's like a heavy class and then maybe they have so overhealed, it won't kill them. However, in most scenarios, when it comes back, on the other hand, because you have the star card equipped and you have an extra bonus damage on top of it being 20, in most scenarios you'll be able to actually defeat your opponents really quickly. Especially when Vader got a slight nerf. This was like when Battlefront 2 was like still in its glory days and everything. A lot of people really complained about the Darth Vader choke and the saber throw combo, so DICE and they decided to nerf it. However, this star card still kind of makes up even for that nerf. I highly recommend this star card because in most scenarios you'll actually be able to defeat your opponents in really quick fashion. Because let's just say, as an example, there's a bunch of enemies maybe in a hallway, maybe in a straight line or anything like that. You use the saber throw, it's going to do some damage to them when it hits them, and if they are still standing still within the range of the saber throw and it comes back, they're going to be surprised because it's going to do bonus damage to them, and you're most likely going to defeat them as well. This is actually really, really helpful in taking out heroes as well, because especially if, let's say, a hero is just standing still, they're just blocking, you throw the saber, it hits them once, they're not really paying attention to you, the saber comes back, it's going to do bonus damage to them. I can't tell you how many times I've been able to defeat heroes simply from the saber throw, simply because they think that just because I've thrown it once and already done damage to them, they don't expect it to come back, and when it comes back, because they're still standing stationary in the same position, I'm able to do a lot of damage to them, take down their HP. And it's just so satisfying as well whenever you see the saber throw comes back and it just takes out a bunch of enemies as well. So for veteran players or even new players as well, because most of these hero guides, they are mainly for like newer players as well, because veteran players, everyone's going to have a different playstyle, like I entirely mentioned. So people may run different star cards to Vader. Like I mentioned, Vader, he's a character, like I said, he's arguably one of the best characters in this game. There are so many star cards for Vader that you can actually pair together very well with each other to actually make sure you're getting the best out of your playstyle if necessary. There are some star cards for Vader as well that actually increase his damage whenever he uses like his focus rage ability, which is his middle ability, which gives him health alongside cutting his stamina in half when this ability is actually activated as well. And if, like I mentioned, some players, they may go for that front, and that's entirely understandable, completely fine as well. Like I mentioned, these hero guys, they're just meant for, like, you know, for newer players, or like for other veteran players to kind of give, like, you know, different loadout for the star cards, a different use and everything. So like I mentioned, these are the 3 star cards I use for Vader. These are the 3 star cards I highly recommend as well to give a try out as well, because let's just say you go for a tanky build for Vader and that's maybe not your playstyle. Maybe you want to try something different. Maybe this hero guide reaches out to you and you see something from this video that actually says, you know what, I want to try these star cards to see if they actually pair well with each other and see if they actually fit my playstyle a bit more. Like I mentioned, Vader's choke, very, very, very good. And in most scenarios as well, like I mentioned, because you have the extra duration of when you can choke someone, it is very, very, very helpful. Just make sure that you're definitely holding your block whenever you choke someone as well, so that you're not really taking the damage as well. So these are the 3 star cards that I highly recommend for Vader. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. So I'm going to try to give you guys some tips and tricks as well for Darth Vader as well, because I do see some newer players who do actually play as Vader, and they're not really exactly holding their own or making themselves like a much of a threat on the battlefront. So I kind of want to go into some tips and tricks for you guys right now to kind of give you guys like a little insight to Vader as well, because he's a very fun character as well to play as. So a few tips and tricks for Darth Vader. So let's talk about Vader's choke. Arguably one of the best abilities in Vader's kit. This choke ability is insanely powerful. Not only can you choke multiple enemies while using it, or you can actually have a longer duration of when you're actually using it, but you can actually use the choke to maybe send people off the ledge if that's the type of playstyle that you want to, or entirely up to you as well. But one common mistake that I kind of see a lot of new players do whenever they play as Darth Vader is that they actually press the right trigger, being on PlayStation, which is the R1 ability, they use the choke, and then immediately after they kind of like just cancel it afterward because they continuously tap the R1 trigger. I know this may seem like a little common mistake, but trust me, I do see it sometimes as well. Like I mentioned, it's a little tip and trick for you guys. When you are playing Darth Vader, simply just press the R1 trigger once. It will activate the choke ability, and then you can just go in and decide what you want to do next. If you constantly spam R1 while you're actually using the choke, it is just going to cancel it, then you're going to be a waste of ability. Your opponents are just going to fall back, and then that's just going to be the end of it. So highly recommend whenever you're using Vader's choke, simply just use the R1 ability just once, just tap it, and then it will actually lock onto the opponent if they're in range, and it will actually choke them as well. Alongside Vader's choke as well, like I did mention, I touched on it briefly as well, like I highly recommend when you use this choke ability, hold L2 so that you can block as well. It is very, very, very important in actually holding block, because sometimes whenever you use Vader's choke, you may actually be taking more damage than what you actually would expect really. So when you're holding block while choking someone, you can either deflect the blaster bolts back at the opponent that you're choking them, or you can just maybe just give yourself a little bit of breathing room so that you don't take as much damage as what you normally would if you weren't actually holding block while choking someone. Another tip as well whenever you're playing as Darth Vader, his middle ability, which is called Focus Rage. I highly recommend whenever you use this ability as well, Make sure you use this ability when you know that you're going to engage in combat with a bunch of enemies, or maybe you're just trying to set yourself up to go into maybe a couple of fights with like a couple of enemies as well alongside. Because not only are you decreasing your stamina whenever you swing your lightsaber, because it cuts Vader's stamina in half by 50% when you do use focus rage, alongside giving yourself some bonus health as well. This is really powerful, and this is what gives Vader the tank-like name that he's like so well like accustomed to. Because in most scenarios, let's just say that your HP gets a little bit low, you use focus rays, you give yourself back some HP, alongside actually reducing your stamina so that you actually can swing your saber more. Also having the stamina card equipped so that whenever you defeat enemies, you get stamina back really quickly as well. You're just going to be literally a tank. Like, you give the whole tank a whole new definition, and it's really crazy sometimes to see yourself just taking on a bunch of enemies and being able to literally defeat all of them in like quick, rapid fashion. Vader's choke, paired with his saber throw, paired with the focus rage, alongside getting yourself extra health, alongside giving yourself stamina regen as well, is such a strong combo as well. So in a lot of cases, whenever I'm trying to go up against maybe, let's say, a saber wield as an example, I like to use the focus rage, give myself some bonus HP alongside reducing my stamina, dash behind my opponents, get a couple hits on them, dash around again and try to defeat them or like chip away at them as much as possible. Using Vader's saber throw as well, I highly recommend whenever you're using Vader's saber throw, try to throw it in a straight line to the point where you know it's gonna like either come back and hit the enemy, or it can get some really good damage on them as well. In most cases, sometimes I see some people whenever they throw the saber, they just throw it in some really weird places and it doesn't exactly do anything sometimes. So in most scenarios, kind of like estimate where your opponent is going to be, throw the saber, and you definitely will catch them off guard whenever he comes back as well. So thank you so much for watching this video. Do drop a like on it if you've enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, do hit that subscribe button as well if you want to help the channel grow even more. Thank you so much, I mentioned as well, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you leave this video feeling entertained, feeling like, you know what, I learned something, or it was, you know, it was useful. So like I mentioned, do drop a like. Don't forget to sub if you're new. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully to see more of you Vader players on the Battlefront as well, because like I mentioned, he's a very strong character and he's arguably one of the best characters in the game, especially if you know how to play with him. A good player with Vader, on the right hand, he's scary, but if you're not really experienced with Vader, he seems like he's not really that good. So hopefully this hero guide helps you if you are within that bracket where you aren't exactly like too familiar with him. So without further ado, may the force be with you, and see you in the next one, everyone. Take care.